Right. The reason why you're here is for insight, proper insight. You know what I mean?
I thought I was here because I was going to be really good at this.
Well,
you just want some information out of me, don't you?
Yeah, I want information.
It's not happening.
Listen, I like information. I like a bit of friction. I like a little bit of back and forth. I like all that type of stuff. Before you give me your insight,
go on.
Take a listen to this from Ben Shalom, because he's been speaking this week about trying to get the deal over the line for EubankJrBenn.
He's not accepted anything, Spence. That's where Chris has got to. We were at 70-30 and 60-40, and to be honest, I thought that was fair. I think if Eddie was representing Chris Eubank Jr, he'd probably be asking for 70-30. And so he knows deep down how well I've done, how well the team's done, how well the management team's done to get Chris to be so generous in a fight where he's clearly the A side. And I think we've got to a point now where he's offered the chance to Conor Benn to win absolute fortune to make this fight. And I do expect it to be made. I think, as Eddie said, there's a lot of ego, there's a lot of bravado. I think when it comes down to it, it's such a big fight. I believe it happens. I believe it's now or never. And so the ball's in their court.
What do you know about this?
Well, the ball's also in the Eubank court as well. It's easy. I saw a breaking news headline say that, breaking news, Chris Eubank has accepted 55-45 split for the Conor Benn fight. Yeah. It means nothing. Team Ben want 50% of the fight. The fight's massive because of both of their names, right?
No. Both of the dads' names.
Okay, I said both of their names. Same thing, right?
Family names.
Sure.
Yeah.
But still, the fight's massive because of that reason.
Yeah.
So you can have 55% of zero or fight Lara, and who's 41 years old, who will still probably win that fight. I really like Chris Eubank, by the way, but I just think it's a very difficult stylistic matchup, but that's besides the point. Or you can fight Conor Benn for 50-50 and make millions and millions of pounds that you can't make anywhere else. You're not going to fight Hamza Shiraz. You're not going to fight Denzel Bentley. You're not going to fight...
Canelo.
That was never going to happen. And you're not going to fight Janibek. You're not going to fight any of those guys. Your biggest fight is Conor Benn. Conor Benn has... I understand all the arguments, what you've said before, camera, saying that Eubank's the bigger name, probably.
Been at the high level.
Been at the high level, understand all of that. But right now, your only fight to make millions and millions and millions of pounds is against the little welterweight Conor Benn.
Is that not the same, though, for Conor Benn?
Conor Benn can fight for the world championship against Barrios, and I believe he's the favourite in that fight. And then he goes on, he's a world champion. He can sell out the O2 Arena against Barrios. I believe Conor Benn has the much better options, which is the reason why I believe the only way this fight happens is 50-50. I completely get what you're saying, and I understand what Ben Shalom's saying about this is a great opportunity. Conor's got to be sensible. Mate, the only way this fight's happening is it 50-50. So they all need to just agree to the fight.
Is that the way it is? So if it's not 50-50, that's not happening?
Fact.
Okay. Do you think it will get over the line at 50-50?
Well,
will Chris Eubank Jr. agree to 50-50?
Unless everyone's lost their minds, then yeah.
What type of money are we talking that will generate, do you think?
Millions and millions, Adam. Millions and millions. Because people keep saying, oh, it's not that. That fight sells out Tottenham Hotspur straight away.
Yeah, listen, it appeals to a certain demographic. It's great for
British boxing. Come on, we need fights like this. Whatever you think of Conor Benn, whatever you think of Eubank, imagine press conference, Ben Shalom, the new kid, Eddie Hearn at the press conference table, Eubank, Ben, the beef, the dads. Oh, it's what we need.
Yeah, but we had it originally, didn't we? Listen, we had it originally, and let's not forget, the reason why the fight fell off the first time around is because one of those contestants failed 2 drug tests. That's why it fell off.
Okay, but the fight's bigger now.
Maybe so.
The fight's bigger now.
Maybe so, because of what's been happening over the last couple of years.
The fight's bigger now. Listen, that situation happened. It's been dragging on for too long, and we are where we are. We're back to kind of square one. But this time, before, I believe it was strictly business. This time, they don't like each other. It makes the fight much bigger. For us as boxing fans, it makes a fight spicier. And before, because I don't want to be clickbaited and say, oh, Sam thinks... I'm saying, I'm not disagreeing with you that Eubank's the bigger name and he's done more in the sport. That's obvious. Boxed James DeGale years and years ago. I remember watching that at the O2. He's done good things in the sport. He's never won a world title. I know Conor hasn't also. But
Challenge for it, though.
But yeah, he's challenging it. Conor's a lot younger than him. But the only way to make this fight is 50-50. So like I say, 55% of absolutely zero or 50% of the great big chocolate cake.
Okay. Now listen, you're talking about the economics. You're a manager, you get the numbers, right?
Yes.
You look after your clients and you make them numbers, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's talk about boxing. Just from a purely boxing point of view. We're talking about a lad, with all due respect to him, that has not been at a world level in his own weight division. All right?
Okay.
In Conor Benn. Mm-hmm. And now...
It's the big debate. That's
come on, man. He hasn't. And now he's jumping up to, what, 160 are we doing this at?
He's taking all the risk. He's going up to 160.
Right.
Going up to middleweight.
He's going up to 160 to fight a guy that has fought for world titles at 168.
He's naturally a lot bigger than him.
Right. So... from a boxing point of view,
yes,
is that a sensible thing to be doing?
For millions and millions of pounds?
No. You brought it back to economics. From a boxing point of view.
Because I think Conor Benn wins the fight.
You think the 147?
I have no
Conor
idea
Benn,
why you're looking at me like that. Eubank in his last fight. I mean, listen, like I say, I'm a Eubank fan. I was a huge fan of his dad. I just think that he's not looked at. Liam Smith was not the Liam Smith. I don't want to take the win away from him, but Liam Smith, everybody knows that wasn't the Liam Smith we know in the ring in the rematch.
Second one, yeah.
The first one, he smashed him to pieces. Conor Benn can whack. Trust me, he can whack. So I make Conor Benn the favourite in that fight against Eubank. So I think, I do think it's a good decision.
Okay, and with everything that has gone on, and let's be dead honest. There's still not absolute clarity as to what has happened with Conor's situation.
Listen, I think again, whatever anybody's opinions are, it's time to move on. It's been 2 years. There's been lots of other tests failed since then. Let's move on.
Is that the right thing to do?
Yeah, he's won every case he's been at.
Talk me through that.
He has. He's won.
Well, all right then. Answer me one question.
Go on,
and then I'll leave it alone forever.
Go on.
Right? How did Clomifene get in his system?
Who says there was Clomifene in his system?
So now we've got. So now
we're bound by from what I don't know the ins and outs. By the way, I'm just asking you. From what I've heard, there may have been a possibility where there was no Clomifene in his system. Right. So all bound by confidentiality. But he's won every case.
Well, hang on. Just on that, it's bound by confidentiality.
Yeah.
He can break that confidentiality. He's allowed to tell the UK anti-doping to release the information.
You don't know the ins and outs of it, though, Adam.
I'm not saying I do.
But I'm saying.
But I've got questions about it. So I'm asking you, how did Clomifene get in the system? You're telling me that Clomifene might not have been there. That then brings a whole new debate about the whole testing process.
I'm saying, so that's what I mean. So it's bound by confidentiality.
So why aren't we suing the living daylights out of the testing process?
How do you know he's not?
So why is this not public information?
But why should it be public information until it's all released?
Give it time. Is it going to be?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not involved in the case. I'm just saying what I hear. But like I say, it has been 2 years. There's been lots of failed tests. There's been lots of high-profile names that have failed tests. Listen, at the beginning, rightfully so, people ask their questions. But come on, guys, it's time to move on now. He's won every case. He's been cleared of any wrongdoing. Yeah, that's fact.
But there's still no transparency. There's a massive fan base out there. You're saying to me, right?
All I'll say is this, Adam. Right? Do you know when Canelo Alvarez failed the test? It was meat. Yeah. It was meat. Conor Benn had a chance, right, when that test come through, to say, do you know what? Took a tablet by mistake, and people will still have their opinions and say cheat.
Right.
So this is what I'm saying. Right. So that was the easy way out. Take a little slap.
Well, did he take a tablet?
No, I don't know. Who knows?
So so you're saying that he could have?
No, what I'm saying is he had an easy way out. He could have said, "Oh, this was an accident," and he would have.
You've got to prove that it's an accident.
Sure, I understand that, right? I understand that, but what I'm saying is, he could have gone another way about it, which is a lot easier than spending.
But if there is no other way to go about it,
spending 7 figures in to try to clear his name, which he's faced every jurisdiction, and he's been found guilty, not guilty of any wrongdoing.
But you can understand that there isn't transparency there, can't you?
Sure, but it's bound by confidentiality,
of which could be broken.
I'm not so sure it can.
Of course it can.
I'm not so sure it can.
UK anti-doping in their statement.
But we're doing it again, Adam. It's been 2 years. There's been another failed drug test yesterday. Let's move on.
Listen, we spoke to Frank Warren about that situation. And look at the chalk and cheese of the way that's been dealt with.
I
completely different.
Listen, I saw a thing on your Fight Disciples thing, which I listen to all the time, by the way, that you said that look at the difference between the way it's been handled.
Yes,
that's because when Conor Benn had the adverse finding, Eubank was saying to Conor Benn, pay me £1 million and we'll get the fight on.
There you go.
So this completely different. So I know Peter McGrail's trainer, right? Paul Stevenson, great bloke, right? Brilliant trainer. So I know straight away, as soon as that came up, he would have said, no chance. Pulled the plug, different. So it's two different scenarios. But I'm also not saying Matchroom handled the situation right, because I don't think they did.
No, they didn't.
They absolutely didn't. And so I'm not sitting here saying they did, but there was lots of money. There was lots and lots of money at stake. Calla Sowland, all of them, they probably didn't handle the situation very well, and they've learned from their mistakes since then.
Fair.
Because if you look at the Dillian White AJ,
Fair.
plug pulled straight
Fair.
away,
and I complimented them in that moment.
Yeah, even in this one. So everybody learns their lessons.
Of course they do.
Everybody learns their lessons. But I just think in this situation, whatever you think of Conor Benn, he's not boxed in the UK ring for 2 years. The biggest fight in British boxing, aside of AJ Fury, is what everybody ever says is Conor Benn against Eubank. Let's see the damn fight.
Okay. Just on what you've just said, right? I don't think anything of Conor Benn. I'm not, with all due respect, I am not interested in who the human being is.
I do think he gets more stick than others, Adam.
Because
I do think he gets more stick.
Let me talk, right? I have no interest in the human being at all whatsoever. I have interest in the situation and the way the situation has been handled. Yeah. All I want is transparency for the fans. When they're paying their money to turn up, I want them to believe in what they're watching.
Sure, at the moment, it's bound by confidentiality. I know this for a
fact.
So
will that be broken? Will that information, will we ever find out what happened?
I can't give you that information because, again,
but you can understand how that damages a boy's career, can't you?
I understand that, but listen, Adam, even if that wasn't the case, it would still be damaging anyway. Canelo Alvarez is one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, and people still go, meat. Look at Oscar De La Hoya at the press conference. Oh, yeah, it's contaminated meat. So it's on him regardless. He's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't.
Yeah, but
damned if he does and damned if he doesn't.
Wait. Professional athletes have a duty to care to themselves, don't they?
Yeah.
They should be knowing what they're putting in their bodies and what they're not putting in their bodies.
I agree.
So, for example, you keep bringing up the Canelo thing, right?
Yeah.
So Canelo...
No, I'm just using that example. Look, Oscar Valdez drank a dodgy iced tea, whatever he drank, green tea.
So Canelo used the excuse of eating contaminated meat, right? Everybody knows that in Mexico, the farmers spray the crops for their cattle with a drug that has got performance-enhancing drugs in it. That's why the cows are absolutely gigantic, right? Canelo Alvarez can fly his meat in from Argentina if he wants to. He's got that much money. But he's gone and he's eaten these tacos in Mexico, right?
I get that.
Okay?
Yes.
But he went through a process.
All I'm saying is I'm using that as an example.
But he went through a process.
Yeah,
he's had hair follicles tested. He had all sorts of stuff tested,
and got a 6-month ban.
He did. And he actually changed the law because of the level of what was in his system was deemed then too low for people going forward. So they changed the law and heightened that. So loads of things have happened off the back of it, but he went through a process. There was transparency. We've gone, all right.
Conor Benn has gone through a process.
Yeah, but listen.
And won every case. He has.
There's not transparency to it, though. Everybody knows that the WBC do not have strict liability, so he's gone there.
It's not just the WBC.
Hang on. There's 2 tests, right? One of them is WBC. So they've gone to the WBC... right? And they've dealt with that situation, and the WBC have put them back in the rankings. They've not cleared him of everything. They've just said, well, okay, it's probably this, so we're going to put you back in the rankings, okay? The second one, UK Anti-Doping have provisionally suspended him twice.
Yeah.
Nobody knows why the second suspension was lifted. Nobody knows that. We haven't been told why the second suspension was lifted.
But it's been lifted for a reason.
Exactly. So tell me the reason. What's the reason?
It's bound by confidentiality.
This is what I'm saying about the transparency.
Yeah, but I'm sure... Listen, I don't know the ins and outs to it. That's a fact. I don't know the ins and outs to it. All I'm saying, I'm sure it will.
Well, let's hope it does.
But yeah, I hope it does. But like I say, it won't matter if it doesn't, because people will still say, oh, he's done this and that. So he can't win anyway.
All right, then. Here's a question, and we'll do this after the break, right? We'll continue this conversation.
Oh, no. I can't. No.
Be honest now, think about, don't answer it straight away, just think about it. Does boxing really care about PED failures? Just think about it, answer it in a minute.
Okay.
You're listening to Fight Night on talkSPORT. I'm Adam Catterall. Sam Jones is alongside me. We've got lots to talk about. I asked you a question before the break. Does boxing really care about PED failures? What's your answer?
When you say boxing...
Yeah, in general. You can incorporate fans, promoters, broadcasters, whatever, mate. More
needs to be done about PEDs in boxing, for sure. More needs to be done. And I think there needs to be, like there is in football, there's a governing body. There's too many gaps in boxing. So, you're 100% right. I think it doesn't care enough.
The way I think about it, right, I think we catch stuff. I think the testing could be better. We could do more. right?
Yeah,
so you could do more testing.
It's just hard though, Adam. Like, do you know when you say more testing? Like, do you know if you get, say for example, an English title at your core?
Yeah, of course, it costs a lot of
it
dough,
costs
man.
it costs so much money. It'll cost more than the actual fight. So it is so difficult. But listen, Sonny Edwards actually said, just listen, let it be a free flow. Let everybody just do whatever they want. That's not the answer in my opinion, but he has a point. Something needs to be done. Something definitely needs to be done. Stronger.
Is I'm looking at the testing, right? And I agree with what you've just said regarding the cost of stuff. So therefore, as it comes down
expensive.
As it comes down the food chain, you can't necessarily do it as much as you should do. But at the top level, there's absolutely no excuse for it. And we do see fighters in their own expense.
Yeah.
Obviously paying for VADA testing. We see people signing up for clean boxing programs and all this type of stuff. That was one of Conor Benn's tests. It was a voluntary situation, wasn't it? The second one was connected to the first Eubank fight.
Yeah. And both fighters asked for it in that fight.
Yeah.
Both fighters, yeah.
No, listen, absolutely.
It's like Jack. If Jack fights Barboza, the first thing we'll say is when
VADA testing.
Straight away, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. It's the punishments for me and the grey areas in and around the punishments.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a massive advocate for strict liability. I believe that every athlete, whether you're a boxer, footballer, tennis, whatever you are, right?
Yeah.
When you're a professional, you have a duty of care to yourself and to the sport, and therefore you should be on everything that you take. I've spoken to many fighters down the years where they said, "Oh, I've had a cold and I can't take a Lemsip because it's got such and such a thing in it, or I can't do this and I can't do that." I'm all in on this. You have got to be stringent. There's certain things that you can do, certain things that you can't do, and it's on you to be responsible for everything that you put into your system. I do believe that a large percentage of PED failures aren't necessarily people cheating. I think it's naivety. I think it's just a little bit of stupidity sometimes.
Yeah.
I think we put it down to tainted supplements and all these types of things. People doing stuff off the shelf, right?
Accidents can happen.
Accidents can happen.
For sure.
But we do have to put the punishments in place to try and wise people up. So for me, this is what I would do. If you're going to catch somebody and they fail, right? Yeah. So let's say... Yesterday we saw a failure, didn't we, with Dennis McCann, right? Yeah. So Dennis McCann fails his performance enhancing drug test.
Which I was really shocked about, by the way.
Absolutely.
Really so shocked about. But like I say, we spoke to Frank earlier on. We need to hear the facts before we kind of pile on to Dennis McCann. We need to hear the facts about it, but it doesn't look or sound good at the moment.
Right. So let's say this happens, right? So Dennis McCann, he's failed his test, so he's missing his fight next week, right?
Yeah.
So he is now asked, what happened, Dennis? So Dennis then goes to whatever he goes to, and he goes, right, I've analysed everything that I've been eating. I've analysed this. I've analysed that. I've analysed blah, 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 blah. These are the supplements, because you send them off for your testing. You go and get batches and all this type of stuff. Might come back that he's taken a tainted supplement, right? That might come back, and that's what's flagged him up.
Yeah.
So that doesn't excuse him, because it's an accident. To the eyes of the world, it's an accident. He's taken a tainted supplement. This has happened. I've flagged up a positive test. He still gets punished. If he can prove that that accidental part of it, so strict liability, that for me, in my rules that don't exist right now, but in my rules, that's a 2-year ban for that accident. Don't give me this 6-month nonsense like they did with Canelo. Don't give me a year. Don't give me none of this. It's 2 years, lads, for an accident.
Yeah.
If you can't prove it's an accident,
like a lot of people think, if you get caught, it's banned for life.
No. I'm not that guy, because accidents do happen, like you said 2 minutes ago, right?
Yeah.
So if you can prove that it's an accident,
I understand everyone's arguments.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
So
it's a dangerous sport.
So I'm going 2 years if it's an accident, and you can prove it's an accident.
4.
If you can't prove it's an accident,
4.
You're banned for 4 years. You're out of the game for 4 years. Give us a shout in 4 years, you can come back in. Now, this is where I do start to lose my temper and get a little bit raggy about lifetime bans. You've had your lesson now. You've been flagged, all right? You've made your mistake once. You don't get 2 strikes.
Yeah.
You strike again.
There's been a lot of fighters that have struck 2 and 3 times.
If you strike again, you don't fight again. That's it. This is a dangerous game. We don't need to make this any more dangerous.
Yeah, it's fair enough. That's what I mean. There needs to be less grey areas about the process of the whole thing. For sure, I agree with that.
And profile and finance cannot come into the thought process. I don't care if the fighter makes you a ton of cash. I don't care. If they've broken the rules...
everyone to be dealt with the same.
If you've broken the rules, these are the rules, lad. There you go. Right, what have you done? Oh, I've done this. I took this off the shelf thing. 2 years, see you in 2 years. I can't prove it. 4 years. And if you've done it twice, I'm sorry, you're out of the game.
Okay.
Does that work? Would that work in the game? You're in the game. You're in the game dealing with fighters. Would that work?
For sure. But you look at John Jones, the apparent greatest ever MMA fighter. He's failed multiple times.
2 performance enhancing, and then he's failed. I think he's failed 2 for recreational.
But it's like 3. That's 3 pops. That's like. But you do champion him, Adam. You say he's the greatest MMA fighter.
As a martial artist, yeah.
But that's what. But isn't he tainted?
Yeah.
3 fails, 3 pings.
Mate, absolutely.
So why doesn't he get the abuse certain other athletes get?
He does in the moment. And this is what do you mean, certain other athletes?
I'm just saying, why do people champion John Jones? I mean, listen, I like John Jones. I'm not a massive MMA fan, but I look at John Jones and I think outstanding. He's popped 3 times.
John Jones is, I test, the greatest mixed martial artist that I've ever watched in my life. Right?
Yeah.
But there's an asterisk next to him. Because of everything that you've just said.
Yeah.
So therefore...
That's only a point I make. I'm not digging out John Jones. I'm just saying, that guy gets championed
absolutely
as the greatest MMA fighter of all time, but he's pinged 3 times.
Absolutely. And in the moment, I mean, I remember doing a massive piece on him when we were talking about...
Do you think he should be allowed to perform? You've just said there 2 strikes. He struck 3.
In my rules, no.
So you think John Jones... So I'm pleased you're saying that because that's consistency. So John Jones really shouldn't be allowed to perform again.
In my rules, no.
Yeah.
In the rules that have been afoot that he works towards with the then USADA and now it's all a little bit different. He's gone through the processes, so he's very similar to boxing. Been caught, he's been punished. This is what's happened, and now you've served your ban, you've served your fine, whatever it may be.
But 3 times is a bit much, isn't it? Like it's as you just said.
It's 2 performance enhancing.
Okay, great. So we'll probably chalk the other one off, but still, it's against the rules. Yeah, it's still against the rules.
Well, and they put one of those down to residual pulsing from the previous one. Right? So listen, I'm not a science man, but these are the reasons that are given to us.
But come on, but what I'm saying is that guy is put down the greatest MMA fighter of all time, but he's pinged 3 times. I just think that...
No, but listen, I'm consistent with it.
Yeah. As long as you're consistent with it, with your argument there, because I agree. I think the first time you can make a mistake, the second time... Right. It's like my life. Like, come on,
taking the mick at me now.
And the third time, like, come on now.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on now. But no, listen. It's an interesting subject. It needs. Like,
do you know who can sort it?
Who?
The main man.
Turkey Al Sheikh.
Look how we dealt with that yesterday.
I'm sure he will.
Straight online.
I'm sure. That'll be in one of the conversations.
Look how we dealt with that yesterday. Yeah. Straight online. This is what's happened. He's not fighting next week. We're going to try and sort Peter McGrail out. I'll give you more news in a bit.
Fantastic.
Superb.
Fantastic. And long may it continue. But without a shadow of a doubt, I believe that he will be the person to sort it.
Fingers crossed. Stick with us. You're listening to talkSPORT.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.